welcome to the What's New in Guardian 2.0 webinar. I'm happy to see that we've got some new faces who aren't necessarily familiar with the ProcessVue suite of software. So I just want to take a few moments just to introduce those people to ProcessVue and what it does and the different applications within the suite. So ProcessVue is an alarm management suite of software that's been designed to help users identify alarm management challenges and understand the size and scale of those issues. There's also management tools built into the ProcessVue software that will help you manage and resolve those challenges. So ProcessVue is used across a variety of industries, ranging from oil and gas, power generation, pharmaceutical, building management, to name just a few. Now, the software itself, there's 3 products within the suite. We have ProcessVue Sequence, which is an alarm historian. It allows us to collect alarms and events from multiple disparate systems, normalize that alarm and event data before writing it into an industry standard SQL database, where we then have a web client which then presents that alarm and event information in a unified and holistic manner. So you get an insight into all of the alarms and events that are happening on your site. We've then got the ProcessVue Analyzer, which is our analytics package. It allows users to identify nuisance alarms such as chattering, fleeting alarms. It allows us to look at the stale alarms, the longest standing alarms. And it also allows users to benchmark their alarm systems against the alarm management standards and guidelines, such as the ISA 18.2 alarm management standard, the EMEA 191 guidelines, and of course the IEC 62682 standard. And then we've got the third product in the suite, which we call ProcessVue Guardian, and that's our master alarm database application, which is, of course, the focus of this webinar. So before I dive too deeply into ProcessVue Guardian, I thought it was worth taking a look at what a master alarm database is to allow us then to introduce Guardian afterwards. So what is a master alarm database? Well, according to the standards, the ISA 18.2, it's a central repository of all of your authorized alarm settings and their associated attributes. So effectively, it's a database of your alarm configuration. You could think of it as a bit like a knowledge base. It's the place to go to find all of the information about your alarms, how they are currently configured, what the supporting information, if any, there is around those alarms, such as what is the cause of the alarm, what is the consequence of missing. So it's the place to go to find all of the information about your alarm settings. Which leads me on to the next question. Who should use a master alarm database? Well, the simple answer is really any business who can be impacted from a commercial, productivity, or a reputation point of view through the mismanagement of alarms. And so a master alarm database is relevant and brings great value to lots of different business and industries. It could be small or medium to large scale operations where they've got large volumes of tags or alarms to manage. It could be businesses with highly integrated systems with multiple subsystems below that, where a master alarm database can ensure that the alarms and the relationships between the systems are coordinated accordingly. It's relevant to multiple sites or companies that have distributed operations, where a master alarm database can provide a central governance role of the alarm settings and the management of those alarms, and it can also provide visibility to those alarm settings for the wider business as well. So what are the typical industries that use a master alarm database? Well, as I said before, it's pretty much any business that can be impacted by the mismanagement of alarms. And that means pharmaceutical companies, power generation, manufacturing, oil and gas, chemicals, and so forth. So the next question is, when should it be used? Now, typically in our experience, we see a lot of companies create master alarm databases as they go through or as they begin rationalization process. And it typically begins with an export of the alarm system configuration into a flat file. But the reality is that the master alarm database is useful and brings value across the entire alarm management lifecycle. From philosophy, the master alarm database holds the information, the methodology around those alarms, the prioritization, for example. Identification, it's very valuable in identification. It helps contain a list of critical alarms. So when we're carrying out audits, etc., we can make sure that no alarms are missed. Used during rationalization, it provides the ability to perform centralized rationalization, and it helps store the supporting information that comes along with rationalization, optimization, and documentation, such as the cause of the alarm, the consequence of missing. DCS's, SCADA, PLC systems are not really geared up for storing this supporting information, and that makes the master alarm database the perfect place for storing that information. Detailed design and implementation. From an implementation point of view, it provides the ability to ensure that the correct configuration is applied to those alarm systems. But it also goes one step further than that, because it gives us the opportunity to make sure that if we're modifying the plan or we're upgrading the plan of the process, it allows us to optimize the alarms for that modification up front, which saves us time from having to do expensive alarm rationalization activities later on. It's sort of a get it right first time mentality. Operation and maintenance, very important in operation and maintenance because of all the supporting information that the master alarm database can store. As I said before, it's the supporting information, the cause, the consequence, and typically the operator action. So when the rare alarms that only appear once in 12 months come along, thanks to the master alarm database, we have a resource where operators can go to find out what actions they should be taking in response to those rare alarms. And training as well is another part of the life cycle where it can be used, because of all the supporting information, the operator actions, it's a great place to use to create training material for operators to ensure that they are well trained with regards to the responses that they take to the alarms. So as you can see, the master alarm database brings value all throughout the alarm management lifecycle. So with that said, let's have a look at ProcessVue Guardian. So ProcessVue Guardian is our flagship product. It is essentially, it's a master alarm database, but it's ProcessVue's version of a master alarm database. So in its simplest form, it provides a database of your alarm configuration. But it's much more than that as well, because we've integrated a full audit trail. So every change that gets made to the alarm settings is recorded and documented. It integrates an approval workflow. So we have roles within the software. Reviewers will make changes and approvers will sign those changes off before they can be deployed back to the host alarm systems. And this cuts down on the number of unauthorized changes that are being made to your alarm settings. When it comes to optimization and rationalization of your alarms, we have productivity tools built into Guardian that help speed up the whole rationalization and optimization process. We have features such as copy one alarm configuration to many and bulk or batch edits, where you can edit hundreds of tags and alarms in a single pass. So moving on, I'm really excited to be able to introduce you today to some of the enhancements that we are bringing along with the release of Guardian 2.0. So to give us a quick summary of what the upgrade entails, we've got a new action list that we're bringing to Guardian. We've got alarm template definitions. We have a new priority matrix manager. We have a new licensing manager. We're introducing language support, and we've also been able to squeeze in some additional enhancements to the software. So I'm going to walk us through these new enhancements. Excuse me. So the first enhancement I'd like to talk about is the new action list. So the act of rationalization is a systematic review of the alarm population with an aim to improve the alarms and the alarm systems for use by the operator. And alarm rationalization is, in our experience, often conducted through a series of alarm rationalization workshops. And these workshops will happen weekly or fortnightly, depending on the availability of resources. And the workshops will be attended by a multidisciplined team. We'll have operators, we'll have people from maintenance, we'll have CNI engineers, we'll have people from health and safety. And usually there's a chairperson involved as well that can help move the meetings along if people get wrapped around the axles discussing one particular alarm. Bearing in mind there's lots of alarms to get through. Now, during each session, the team will look at and review the alarms. Some of the alarms may get demoted from a high priority to a medium or a low priority. Some may even get demoted to an event. There might be logic controls that are needed to be implemented in the host system, as we might be looking and tackling at nuisance alarms. We might be configuring some on delay timers to get rid of some chattering alarms, for example. But each session, as it progresses, they'll review the alarms and they'll decide upon a number of actions and tasks associated with the alarms. So it could be you've agreed to make changes to 50 alarms, let's say, and add on delay timers for them because they're chattering alarms. After the workshop, somebody has to go then and implement those changes into the host system, whether it's the SCADA system, the DCS system, or whatever the system is that you're using. It could be that you need to update documentation to reflect the changes that have been made to those alarms. It could be that we need to update PNID drawings as well, based on the changes that we've agreed. So out of each rationalization session comes a series of activities and tasks that have to be completed on a regular basis. For example, if we've got to make those 50 changes to the alarms, we're adding on delay timers. If we don't implement those changes in time for the next session, then we start to build up a backlog. So while we're progressing and reviewing the alarms, the actual act of updating the alarm system is falling behind, and we're entering delays, which is going to, of course, impact the overall success of the alarm rationalization activity. So it's really important that these tasks are managed and people have visibility to them, so that you can ensure that your alarm rationalization activities progress at a good pace. And to that end, we're introducing in Guardian 2.0 an action list, which you can think of it as a collaborative workspace that will allow you to manage and assign tasks that come up as part of alarm rationalization workshops. So if let's say Fred needs to go and update the alarm configuration for 50 tags, you could create a task during the rationalization workshop for Fred and add in the details, and you've now got a place to manage that activity. You can add comments to it so it's fully audited and traceable. And of course, you can even add the tags or the alarms themselves to the actions. So should Fred need to update those alarms, he can have a look at the action, and there's a list of all of the associated alarms that he needs to perform that activity with. Of course, you can export this list to help with carrying out those tasks. And so the action list helps to provide visibility to these alarm rationalization tasks, and it helps to ensure that each rationalization workshop builds on the last, so that you can continually see the progress towards your overall alarm rationalization initiative. The next enhancement I'd like to talk to is about, rather than talk to, is the alarm definition templates. Anybody who's involved in the act of alarm rationalization will know that it's a lengthy, time-consuming, and laborious task. Engineers be it men or women, often start rationalization activities when they're young and in their prime. And by the time they finish rationalizing all of the alarms, it's aged them and lots of time has passed. It can seem like it goes on forever. To give you an idea, joking aside, rationalization does take time. It takes commitment. And then in our experience, we tend to see the following. We see small sites take anywhere from a few weeks to a number of months to complete, whereas medium sites will take anything from 3 months up to 6 months to complete. And then we start looking at large operations and complex sites with lots of subsystems. And they could take anywhere from 6 months up to a number of years. We've got a number of projects ongoing that have been going on for 12 months or more now. So they really do take time. And when we're rationalizing alarms, obviously we're reviewing the whole population of alarms. And there's often alarms that have synergy with other alarms, or alarms that are associated with particular equipment types, such as tanks, silos, hoppers, pumps, compressors, condensers, heat exchangers, and sensors, ranging from temperature sensors to pressure sensors. So we have all of these different types of synergistic alarms that will come along as we are performing rationalization or optimization. And typically what happens is when we rationalize, we determine the alarm's priority, we add the supporting information, the documentation around those alarms, and then we'll move on to the next alarm and then the next alarm. So we're reviewing each alarm, and then oftentimes a similar alarm will come up. And what we can do to tackle that, what we see people do is use things like Excel to hold instances of supporting information. So it might be related to sensors, let's say, or pumps. Maybe a water pump is probably a good example. They'll create all of the supporting information and hold it in Excel. And then whenever they come across a pump-related alarm, they know that they can apply, assuming it's safe to do so, the supporting information that they've got saved. Sounds easy, but when you look at the reality of it, when you're putting the information in the master alarm database, we should be looking at the cause of the alarm, the consequence of missing, the operator actions. We're looking at the class of the alarm, what the priority is. And before you know it, you've got 10 or 15 different pieces of information related to an alarm type. And that means they'll copy 15 times, let's say, as an example, from Excel when they're rationalizing alarms. And I think we can agree there's got to be a better way of doing that. And so with Guardian 2.0, what we're doing is we're introducing alarm definition templates for exactly that reason. And the idea is that you'll go through and you'll rationalize your alarms during the workshop. So you'll perhaps go through the priority matrix, where we can see on the screen there, we've got health and safety category, we've got environmental, and we've got commercial. And you'll notice that we've got the severity underneath that. This is a typical matrix. And we'll go through and we set the matrix accordingly. We'll apply the time to respond for the alarm. And then on the right-hand side, we'll start adding the supporting information, the consequence of missing, the operator actions, comments, categories, class of the alarm, etc. And instead of saving all that information in Excel, what we can do is we can save it as an alarm definition template. So I could save a water pump template. Then when I'm reviewing other alarms and another water pump alarm comes up, I can say, right, okay, brilliant. I can then just go to my drop-down menu, select the water pump, and it will populate all of that information. I can decide what information I save in there, so I don't have to save the priority matrix, but you can if you want to. So you can create an entire template based around specific alarms. You can apply these alarm template definitions as you review each alarm, or you can apply them as part of bulk or batch edits. So if you've got 100 or 500 pumps or something like that, you can apply that alarm definition template to all of those 500 alarms in one pass. And what that does is it greatly speeds up the act of alarm rationalization and optimization as well. So the next enhancement I'd like to talk about is the new priority matrix manager. So we've just seen a priority matrix, and this is typically what customers or end users will use, and businesses, when they are prioritizing their alarms, there'll be a series of categories. We saw a moment ago, you've got things like environmental, commercial, health and safety, and then you've got the severity below that. So whether it's a severe, critical, major, minor, incidental. And the idea is that the business will go through and it will review each alarm based on each category. What's this alarm's impact on the environment? It's minor. What's this alarm's impact on health and safety? Well, there's a major risk here, so we'll select it accordingly. And you go through the matrix. Now, the alarm priority methodology should be stored and available within your alarm philosophy document. And in the past, Guardian allowed you to have a single priority matrix, which is taken straight from the alarm philosophy document and embedded within the software. And what that does is it ensures that anybody who rationalizes or optimizes alarms using Guardian does so in a standard and consistent manner in accordance with the company's alarm philosophy document. With the release of Guardian 2.0, we're introducing what we call the Priority Matrix Manager. And the Priority Matrix Manager will allow users to modify the priority matrix. So if your operating conditions change and you need to update your priority matrix, you can now do that. So you can modify your own priority matrix. Not only that, you can also create your own priority matrix. So if you've got multiple control rooms that require different terminology or a different configuration priority matrix, Guardian can cater for that scenario. We can have multiple priority matrices. And what that does is it means that Guardian is in a great position to help manage and govern distributed sites from a central location. So maybe from head office, you want to start managing and governing the alarm configurations. You can do that with Guardian because we can now have multiple priority matrices within the software. And this opens up a number of scenarios. The next enhancement I'd like to talk about is language support. So with the release of Guardian 2.0, we're introducing language support or localization. There's going to be several languages available. And the idea is that from the login menu of Guardian, you'll be able to click on the drop-down menu and select the language. It will then translate the web client into your chosen language, which will enhance your user experience, as if you are an international user, you'll be able to see the web client in your own language. Now, one thing I should point out is that we are working with third parties to develop the translation. And so the speed at which the languages are translated is outside of our control, unfortunately, which means that the languages may not make it into the initial release, but if they don't, they will follow on within a couple of weeks. So unfortunately, this is something that's outside of our control, with it being handled by third parties. The next enhancement I'd like to talk about is the licensing manager. We've implemented a new licensing manager. We're simplifying the whole approach to licensing ProcessVue. In the past, if you were licensing ProcessVue software, you would have a series of license files. You could end up with 5 or more separate license files, which would have their own path that you would need to install. And this could make licensing ProcessVue fairly complicated. So we've simplified the whole process. We're introducing a licensing manager and a licensing service. The licensing manager will communicate with the licensing service. And what we've also done is we've taken all of those license files and wrapped them up into a single license deployment pack. So you only ever have to worry about a single license file, which will be deployed through the licensing manager. The licensing manager then becomes the one place to find all of the information about your licenses. When does your support contract expire? What are you currently licensed for? How many Guardian web clients do I have? You think of it a bit like a master alarm database, which is the central place to go for all of the information about your alarms. The license manager is similar. It will provide everything you need to know about your ProcessVue licensing. So as well as those major updates, we've also been able to squeeze in some additional enhancements to the software. And the first one I'd like to talk about of the additional enhancements is the ability to highlight review differences. Now, when making changes to alarm settings through Guardian, I mentioned earlier that we have an approval workflow embedded within Guardian where reviewers will make the changes to the alarm settings and approvers will then log in and approve those changes. We've enhanced the software by adding a highlight review differences option. So when approvers log into the software, they can enable this option and it will highlight every setting, every alarm configuration setting that has been changed as part of the review process. So an approver can easily log on, see straight away what changes have been made, and then approve them. So it makes the whole approval process a lot simpler and faster. The next enhancement I'd like to talk about is the Tag Lifetime History View. Now, when making changes to alarms within Guardian, we do so through projects. Projects are Guardian's way of segregating the master alarm database. It ensures that you've only got responsible people working on the alarms they're associated with. Now, historically, the audit trails have been held within projects, but with the release of Guardian 2.0, we're enhancing the audit trail. We're now introducing a lifetime history view. So regardless of how many projects that tag or that alarm has been part of, you'll now always be able to see the full life cycle history of a particular alarm. So you can see what changes have been affected throughout its lifetime within Guardian. We've also integrated Active Directory support. So this is for enterprise users of Guardian. Traditionally, if you had a lot of users that were going to be using Guardian, they would have to be configured within the software. We'd have to add them to the user manager. And when we're talking about 3,000 plus users, that can be quite an onerous task. So what we've done is we've added Active Directory integration support, which means that now users can log on to Guardian and it will authenticate with the Active Directory. This will give users the ability to log straight onto Guardian as a public user and look at any projects that are set to public. Don't worry, they can't make any changes. This is just a viewpoint. If they want to be able to make changes, then an admin will have to add them to the projects before they can start making changes. So with the enhancements covered, let's just have a little chat about the release. So we're currently aiming and targeting for Guardian 2.0 to be released at the end of August. And the good news is that there's no additional cost for customers who have an active support contract. They can download the software, upgrade it, and start taking advantage of these new enhancements that we're bringing. When the software is released, we'll send out an email to the user base to inform them. And then shortly after that, we'll send out another email which contains a download link so that users will be able to download the software and perform the upgrade. Now, if you're not sure about how to upgrade the software, our partners can provide upgrade services. So please don't hesitate to contact them and discuss any requirements that you may have. They're there to help you. And if you'd like more information about ProcessVue or you'd like more information about any of the enhancements that we've covered during the webinar, then you can find more information on our website, which is, of course, www.processvue.com. We have a presence on LinkedIn, and we also have a YouTube channel where we host short videos that explain how to configure and how to use the new enhancements that are added to the software. And I'm also excited to be able to announce to you that we've recently launched our Alarm Management Maturity Assessment online questionnaire. And it's designed for people who are either just starting out on their alarm management journey or who are already underway, but may not be entirely sure about what steps or actions they're taking, whether they're doing the right thing. People can log in, run through a series of questions and get a tailored report that will identify and let them know where they are on their alarm management journey and what things they could be doing. It talks about things like best practices, etc. And so now it's over to Grace to see if we've had any questions that have been raised during the webinar. Over to you, Grace.
Oh, thank you, James. Yeah, we've had one question. It says, does this connect directly to the host system?
That is an excellent question. Thank you, Grace. Guardian is air gapped from the alarm systems. We get alarm configurations into Guardian, or we import them from a flat file. And what this means is that it's very cyber secure, first of all. Secondly, it allows Guardian to be used at any point within the business. So in a quiet room, that helps with rationalization, activities, and optimization in the quiet parts of the business. It can also be used, because it's not tied directly to the host system, it can be presented to third parties, such as system integrators, so that when making modifications, they can optimize those alarm configurations and deliver a fully optimized set of alarms, complete with operator actions as well, to provide great situational awareness and efficiency and productivity. So great question. Thank you, Grace.
And we have one more question that has just come in. Does it support OPC UA communications?
So not currently. We do have OPC UA communications on our roadmap, and we also have API integration on the roadmap. So we are in the near future looking to integrate Guardian with third parties through a number of ways. So watch this space.
But that is everything from me. Anything else from you, James?
No, that's nothing from me. Just thank you very much. Thanks for attending.
Thank you everyone for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.